in Gaza. In a grotesque distortion of political categories, events on October the 7th are being portrayed as some sort of justifiable resistance to oppression. Too many, especially shamefully on the left, seem to be stuck in the past, imagining today's Palestinian armed resistance is the same as earlier national liberation movements fighting against colonialism. Indeed, Green Party MSP Maggie Chapman responded to the Hamas attack by posting, quote, "The oppressed are fighting back. Don't let the Western media fool you into thinking it's terrorism. This is decolonisation." Well, let me be clear. No, it isn't. As someone who has supported Palestinian rights for decades, I find it disgusting to suggest that Hamas is any kind of a national liberation movement trying to free Palestine. In reality, it's an anti-Semitic death cult hell-bent on establishing a global Islamic caliphate. And how do I know that? Read the Hamas constitution, watch its propaganda. There is not an iota of aspiration to democratic or freedoms for the Palestinians or for anyone else in its tracks. And yet still, in the media and on mass demonstrations and in all online platforms, swathes of right-minded people are queuing up to point the finger at Israel for bringing on the massacre on itself, and an embarrassed silence about Hamas's crimes. It's hard to explain such moral disorientation. As one commentator notes, those who collaborated with the Nazis often claimed they didn't know Hitler's henchmen were planning to exterminate the Jewish people. Today's progressive apologists in the West have no such excuse, as Islamists flaunt their desire to eliminate the Jews, and yet still too many look away, ignoring these inconvenient truths. Such attitudes present our society with a problem. Beyond the military battles in the Middle East, we have a domestic battle of ideas to fight and some difficult questions to answer. Let's ask the thousands of British and European artists who issued an open letter accusing Israel no less, of unprecedented cruelty, quote, for its dealings with Gaza. Let's ask them why they didn't write a similar open letter on the unprecedented cruelty of the Hamas pogrom, although sadly it wasn't unprecedented for the Jews. We have to ask those who angrily demonstrated against the accused Israeli perpetrator of the horrific bombing of the hospital in Gaza, if now all the evidence suggests a misfired Islamic jihad missile, why weren't these progressive humanitarians, as we speak, out on the streets expressing righteous fury against these Palestinian civilian killers? We also have to ask, how do we explain that we now have open support for radical Islam on UK city streets? Why have we allowed it to grow unchecked for years? Concerns quashed as Islamophobia.